Alrighty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 11th of June, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Jason Myrtetus at the announcer's desk. Kind of a couple random things to discuss before we get to our latest conversation in our Flyers Exit Day interview series. Today's guest will be, it's kind of all ties in because it goes back to the 2014 draft and it all ties together. But our guest for the conversation in this episode of Flyers Exit Day interview series is Travis Sanheim. I will say this first and foremost before we get to any of the other topics. I always like talking to Travis Sanheim. He's not an like a boisterous, kind of loud interview guest or conversationalist. But I have found him over the years to become more and more comfortable with who he is as an NHL player. I think who he is as a person. And where he fits in the NHL and how he got there. My conversations with him are always very enlightening because they're very detailed on his mindset and his path. They're very insightful into the mind of the player than the player that he has become. So this conversation is going to be no different. I think he's, again, it's not an overtop loud conversation, but it's very insightful. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. I think you've enjoyed the conversations I've had with him in the past. So he will be our featured guest coming up in just a few minutes. A couple of random things I want to get to. First, the Cup final, watching Game 3 and Florida really handing it to Edmonton in that game. And, Florida just wears you down. They continue to just make you play the way they want to play. And the first thing I want to bring up, and these are totally random, like off the, I'm kind of just potpourri bopping around here a little bit. But when you look at this Cup final, a guy I used to work with at the Fanatic, at the radio station, Pat Egan, he's a hockey guy, plays beer league hockey still. He knows the game. And it's interesting because he had put out a tweet that says this Panther team is so dirty and they flop and dive more than Jalen Brunson, a completely unlikable group with an incredibly likable coach. Agree about the coach. I do like Paul Maurice a lot. But I disagree that the Florida Panthers are an unlikable team. I love that team. As much as I can like a team that's not my hometown team, I love their makeup. I love players like Sam Bennett. Even though he knocks the goalie around, and in the goalie union, we don't like that. But he goes hard to the net. He kind of instigates a ton of stuff, but never gets emotional and reacts to it. Like he's just stone-faced. I love that in a player. You see a player like, obviously, Tkachuk. Like Matthew Tkachuk as a player I would take on my team any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. Barkov, tremendous all-around hockey player. Ekblad, speaking of the 2014 NHL Draft, first overall, taken in Philadelphia that year. You look at, the other pieces in Verhaeghe, who was a waiver claim, or you look at just all over the roster. I find that team incredibly likable. And I wondered if people agreed with Pat that they find that team unlikable. I've always been a Brad Marchand fan. I know it's not trendy to say that in Philadelphia. I like what a player like Marchand brings to the game and brings to the league. I think the league needs hateable players. We're talking sports hate. I think the league needs that. Pot stirrers, rats. I think that's good for the game. It's storyline. I think there's a little bit, not enough of that in today's game. I find the Panthers an incredibly likable team. I find the Oilers likable too, which is odd because they're built totally different. They got all these great players and, they're a team that is trying to play the same way Florida is, but maybe just not designed to do it. And you see great plays from McDavid and Draisaitl and all that skill. And it's back-to-back years of these same two teams, a lot of scar tissue. So I find both of these teams likable. And the series has been incredible. That Game 3 in Florida the other night, and Game 4 will be coming up tomorrow night, was not a great hockey game. It kind of descended into some chaos at the end, but that's just a result of the game getting out of hand. But it's been an incredible series. And I find Florida very likable. There's not much I dislike about that team at all. So I wonder if people agree with that. My second thing is in regards to the Cup final too. In each of the last two games, or game one rather, and game three, so the first game at Edmonton and the first game in Florida, they did the starting lineup player introductions. And they both kind of pushed me back in my chair or on my couch. And I was kind of taken back when they're doing player introductions and you hear in his 14th season in the NHL, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Going, holy cow, this dude's in his 14th. In his 10th season in the NHL, Connor McDavid. And just last year, they finally get to a Cup final. And this year, they're back to try and win a Cup. In his 11th season in the NHL, Leon Draisaitl. And it just brought me, it really took me back. Same thing with Aaron Ekblad, 2014 draft. Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart. You look back and you go, man, the Edmonton Oilers drafted the best player in the world in Connor McDavid. And he was pretty much instantly right there. And he's now in his 10th season. In his 9th season, he got to his first Cup final. This notion of a quick fix in the NHL, I don't think it exists. You look back at when Nathan McKinnon was drafted, how long it took him to win a Cup. Alex Ovechkin, how long it took him to win a Cup. Crosby was a little sooner, went in 08, won it in 09. But overall, it's a long, long process. Very long process. And that has really taken me back when I see those player introductions. And I'll tell you this series has proven something. Age doesn't matter. When you look at, I tweeted this out during the game, that Brad Marchand and Corey Perry, they each scored. Marchand scored the first goal. Perry scored the first goal for Edmonton last night. Marchand, 37 years old, 1,100 games played on the button regular season in his career. Corey Perry, 40 years old, played 1,392 games, both with goals in game three. Both players playing a very important role. And what we a lot of times deem now as a young man's game. The two of those players combined are 77 years of age with 2,492 career games between them. Both Cup winners. 2011 for Marchand with the Bruins, way back 16 years ago for Corey Perry with the Anaheim Ducks. Incredible things that you just kind of pick up. Now, let's go back because they also showed this graphic during the game about the 2014 draft. The top 4 picks in that draft are all in this final. The draft was in Philadelphia. They showed the picture of the 4 of them as 18-year-olds in Philly, I think probably at Love Park or on the Art Museum steps or something like that. It's Ekblad, number 1 overall. He gets taken by Florida in Philadelphia. It's Ekblad. Then at Buffalo takes Sam Reinhart, 2nd overall. Edmonton, 3rd overall, takes Leon Draisaitl. Jeez, crazy. Who's got the most amount of points out of anybody in the draft. And then 4th overall, Calgary takes Sam Bennett, who has the 2nd most. Draisaitl, by the way, has 956 points in 790 games. Bennett has 336 points in 691 games. Reinhardt's got 619 points in 775. And Ekblad, defenseman, you measure it differently, but still 380 points in 732 games. He's got more points and more games played than Sam Bennett. And we talk about the top of the draft and the need to draft in the top 5. Well, it's funny because you look at this draft and then you look at number 5. The 5th overall pick was Michael Dalcol. Played 112 games in the NHL. Jake Virtanen played 317 games. He was taken 6th overall. Hayden Fleury for Carolina played 307. Then William Nylander with Toronto has played 685. He's got 612 points. Nick Ehlers taken 9th overall, 674 games, 520 points. Nick Ritchie's played 481 games in the NHL. Kevin Fiala's in there at 651 games, taken at 11th. Brendan Perlini was taken 12th by Arizona, only had 262 games. Jacob Vrana's in there. Julius Honka only played 87 games in the NHL. He was taken 14th overall, and he was taken by Dallas, a team that we talk about all the time that does such a great job in consistently drafting and not drafting in the top 5. And they missed on that one. I mean, they did take Robertson later in the draft, and they've gotten players. Columbus took Sonny Milano at 16. He's played in 313 games. Then the Flyers at 17 took the guy that's going to be our guest on this episode, and that's Travis Sanheim, who's played 579 games, has 213 points in the NHL. Alex Tuck taken in that draft, has played over 500 games. Tony DeAngelo went to Tampa in that draft. It's great. Kasperi Kapanen, who's now in the finals as well, taken in that draft, albeit by Pittsburgh, was in Toronto as well. Only one player in the 2014 first round did not play an NHL game. And that's another team that we think of as being a team that drafts really well. And that's Colorado. At 23, they took Connor Bleakley. Didn't play a single game in the NHL. Montreal took Nikita Sherbak, only played 37 games in the NHL. Josh Hosang's only played 53. Bill talked about him in Monday's episode. Interviewed horribly. Was very cocky. John Quenneville was drafted by New Jersey in the first round. Only played 42 games. Adrian Kempe was taken 29th. Has played 630 games. Well, the NHL draft is an absolute crapshoot. Look in the second round, and you got some players that have played some pretty big game totals. Barbashev's in there. He's taken by St. Louis in the second round. You look at Marcus Pettersson's in there. You look in that round, and Brandon Montour's played 601 games. Christian Dvorak's played over 500, even into the third round. And in the third round, you have a very good player. Well, Warren Fogle was taken in that third round, decent player. But the guy you look at in the third round has played 657 games and has 635 points. That's Braden Point, taken 79th overall. And in each round, it dwindles less and less players that make the NHL. Well, Max Willman was taken in that draft by Buffalo. I didn't realize that. But there's some fines in there. Even if you go into the seventh round, you got players that played over 300 games. The last guy in the draft, Jacob Middleton, played 306. Pierre Engvall played 380. Pretty crazy. Going back and looking at that draft, it's weird that in that draft, a team like Dallas had a miss, and so did Colorado. Dallas has been in a couple of conference finals, a few. Colorado won a cup in 2019. Pretty wild. Wild stuff. It was 2021 when Colorado won it. Brendan Lemieux in that draft as well in the second round. Pretty crazy. So I wanted to look back at that. And again, the guy the Flyers took in the first round in that draft, Travis Sanheim, is going to be our guest in just a moment. One last thing before we get to Travis Sanheim. I was seeing on social media, I was tagged in something about some infighting amongst the Flyers hockey, I guess, on-demand podcasts. A couple of them, I guess, were going at it, discrediting each other and all of that stuff. I don't get involved in any of that. So once in a while, I disagree with something somebody says on another podcast because I consume a lot of them, and I'll be vocal about a disagreement that I have, whether it's with Russ from Snow the Goalie or Russ Cohen from Locked On Flyers, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of great Flyers podcasts. And the good thing about the Flyers podcast community, I don't like to see the infighting. Disagreements are fine, but it seems like it got personal from what I kind of looked back on and saw. But the great thing about the Flyers podcast community, first of all, it was developed out of an industry that I was very prevalent in sports radio, because of the lack of coverage, proper coverage. Sports radio had the balls to give hockey and the Flyers in this town. Now, why didn't sports radio give it coverage? I did. I think it's because a lot of the hosts don't understand the game to a high enough level to speak about it in an educated fashion. So what do? You crap on it and you avoid it because you don't want to talk about it. That's part of it. And then this podcast on-demand content delivery in Philadelphia has really grown and been a big boon because the hockey fans, the Flyers fans can get served what they want when it comes to coverage of the Flyers. You can get all kinds of different perspectives, whether it's from Nasty Knuckles with Derek Settlemeyer with Nasty and with Riley Cote, who's a former player, and they have great player interviews and executive interviews and guys all over the league, or whether it's, Locked On Flyers with a guy like Russ Cohen and Rachel, who do a great job, and Russ, a good prospect guy. I did a podcast for years, Stick to Hockey with Russ. Or whether it's, Broad Street Hockey, or kind of at the forefront of this whole thing and way ahead of all of us, or Snow the Goalie with Russ, Anthony Sanfilippo, who's a established reporter and a guy like Bundy, who obviously played the game, or Flyer Hyperbole, or O&B Puckcast, which I just appeared on last week. Love those guys. There's all kind of High and Wide. There's a ton of these Flyers podcasts. PHLY, Charlie and the crew over there, Bill, do a great job. And we all, Flyers Daily included, we all fill a different void in this whole thing. Obviously, I do Flyers Daily. It's pretty much a solo show, but I have guests all the time. I'm an employee of the team, so I have this unique ability amongst Flyers podcasts to pretty much get on any player, executive, coach, or anything I want when I want. I have that ability. Now, I make sure I don't abuse it and just do it all the time. I think that would be overkill. But I have obviously a connection to be able to get the players, the coaches, the executives, the managers, and all them on Scouts more than any of the other podcasts, because I work for the team. The podcast is distributed through the team. So that's the void that I fill. And in my role too, I look at it, and my approach is that I take a very analytical role. I try to remove emotion, strip things down, find out why something happened or why it's happening, what would be good, what wouldn't be good. I'm critical when I need to be. I'm critical of players. I'm critical of play. I'm critical of the team. I'm critical of ideas. I'm not here to be a reporter. That's not who I am. I'm here to provide just analysis and keep people in the loop as to what's going on in a rational sense. Now, there's fan podcasts too, where they scream and yell and they go crazy. That fills another void. And then you have like Charlie's very analytically driven. That fills that void. And he's got Bill Mott's there, who also has got a lot of fan in him. These are all different. Whatever you're in the mood for, you can just hit it up on your phone or YouTube or whatever it is. The Flyers community is served. I think it was back in 2019. Scott Gordon was the interim coach at the time after Alain Vigneault was let go. And I was doing my Stick to Hockey podcast at the time. This is before Flyers Daily. And I got the entire Flyers podcast community together. And I put on an event with Wildfire Radio, who I was doing my podcast distribution through at the time. And we did the Flyers podcast roundtable. And we had members from all the different podcasts there on site. And we had panels that we rotated through. I think we involved about 8 or 9 different Flyers podcasts. I think I'm going to have to do another roundtable. I'm going to have to bring the group together again before this season starts to, first of all, iron out all the stupid drama that goes on. And 2, let's all get on the record as the phase 2, the build part now of the Flyers rebuild, the arc up, hopefully, begins. I think it'd be great to get us all and do it as an event where fans can come out and see everybody, meet everybody, and we'll have a big production there and do a whole thing. We'll do the Flyers podcast roundtable part 2. So I think I may have to get that in order. One man can do it. It's somebody that's going to help me do it. So I would love to do it. So I don't want to see all that fighting though. Who's got the energy for that anymore? So hopefully we can get that done. I think that would be really, really cool event to have once again, and get us all lathered up and pumped up for hockey again. Yeah, I mean, I miss it already. I mean, they haven't even handed out the cup yet, and I'm already missing the game. I love the game. You guys know that. Let's get to our Flyers Exit Day interview series guest. I love having real conversations, not with just professional athletes or players, with people. It's a people conversation. They just the people sometimes happen to be professional hockey players. That's exactly what this one is about. Travis Sanheim is a person. He is a human being. He is a very cerebral, introspective, honest guy to talk to. And here's my Flyers Exit Day conversation with the Flyers defenseman, Travis Sanheim. It is a Flyers Daily, our Exit Day interview series continues, and I just realized something. You and I share a birthday one day apart. You're on March 29th.
Yeah.
March 30th for me.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you're older than me. I was 72, you're 96.
Yeah.
But happy belated birthday.
Yeah, happy belated.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
579 NHL games. Can you believe that?
500 and what?
79.
79, almost 600. Yeah, I can't believe that. That's crazy.
That's how blink of an eye, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. When I played my 500, I thought that was a lot. Halfway to 1,000. You're just think about the back in the day when you were just wanting to play your first one, and now you're
wide-eyed.
You're almost at 600. So it goes by quick.
But Sandy, there's a lot of work that went in those.
Yeah.
From that game one back in the 17-18 season to where you sit now, and all that work paid off.
Yeah.
But it's earned.
For sure. Yeah. I can. It's funny when you go back. You wish you could go back and tell yourself like what you know now, but you you obviously have to go along that process of learning and developing, and you realize a lot over the course of 500 and, what is it, 74 games?
79
games.
That's not counting some playoff games.
Yeah. So
pretty remarkable. When you go back and the person you were then to the man you are now.
Yeah.
And it's. The growth, it has to happen just in organic time.
Yeah.
But you have some say in it and the way you work. And I think when I look at your growth and your arc as a player and human, you've put in the work. And that's something you got to be very proud of.
Yeah, it is. I think
it wasn't given; it was earned.
No. I think that's just how I've been taught since I was a young kid. I was on the ice every day skating and trying to get better. I wanted to play at the next level all the way up, and I just felt that at that age, what had gotten me there was the work that I'd put in when I was a kid, and so for me, I just see that as. I can always get better. I'm not the best player in the league by a long shot. So for me, it's continuing to improve my game. I think there's always areas to work on, and I think every guy should recognize that. And playing at Four Nations and seeing the work that some of the top players who are the best players in the league, what the work that they're putting in, and thinking that they can be better. There's no reason why every guy can't do the same.
That's interesting because. In the detail and the little things and being around those guys comes with that benefit of being able to observe them closely and see how they do that. For you, you're going to go and play in Worlds. You're always the last guy off the ice. You love practicing as much as playing.
Yeah.
Like your passion for the game, to me, is something that I always feel with you. You love being on the ice and being a hockey player.
Yeah. I think that's from a young age.
When did it get its teeth into you?
Yeah, I enjoy it so much. I want to be on the ice. I wish I could play 60 minutes. I want to be out there.
In beer league you can. That's when you retire.
Yeah. I just love it so much. I get to compete against the best players in the world. I think there's challenges every night, and for me, it's continuing to try to prove that. Ultimately you're trying to win every game, and so you're. That competitiveness, I think I have that in me. I get that coming out a lot, and that's what kind of drives me to want to play more and be better and continuing to take those steps to ultimately make the playoffs and push this thing forward into the right direction.
Well, the rebuild, there's phases in a rebuild. There's subtraction, and frankly, when you subtract something in the first part of it, you're not replacing with equal or better, but that addition part looks like is about to begin. Is that exciting for you?
Yeah,
reinforcements on the way, and
for sure.
We're going to be a team on the come here.
Yeah, I think with where my career is at, I think you want to, like I said before, you want to win, you want to make the playoffs, and so for us, the faster we can show them that we're ready to take that next step. The quicker help's coming. So I think, as much as this is, a disappointing season, you can look at a lot of positives and some of the steps that these young guys have taken. I think excites, me, it excites the organization, and that's what's going to ultimately push this thing forward by adding more pieces to what we already have.
The addition of Mishkov is obviously something that can't be overlooked. As a guy who defends and guys attack the middle of the ice the way he does, with that ability to score the puck, shoot it, but also just generate, 2,000 elo chess type offensive plays to set up other guys. What is it like trying to defend guys like that?
Yeah, I think he has an ability he likes holding on to pucks and making plays. And so when you have the patience that he does as a defender, those guys are harder to defend because they're willing to outweight you.
Yeah.
Whereas
Make
a lot
it
of times I can get players to make a play when I want them to make it, whereas he's making it on his own terms. And so, those guys are a lot harder to defend. You got to close space a lot quicker and not allow them to have that patience. So, it's just super exciting to have a guy like that. TK is very similar in the plays that he makes, and different players obviously, but just their offensive instincts and the way that they see the ice. Is a lot different than a lot of other players, and the exciting thing for me is this was year one. So
19 now 20-year-old.
You see what he did in year one, and yet when I watch him, I see so much room for improvement in his game, and that's not saying that he didn't do things good, because he was great this season. But I think that there is just so much more that we're going to see here down the line, and whether it's his play away from the puck or his ability to see the ice even better. Once he gets, the game's going to slow down even more for him. It's slowed down now. Yeah. Wait till he feels like he's that extra second that he has with the puck and the plays that he's going to make. That's what the top guys in the league are doing, and you can see that already, that he's going to have that ability.
Yeah, the way he attacks the middle, with the sharpness he attacks it with, just opens up so many options. I'd like to see him at times add a little bit more pace to his game.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Kucherov in there,
for sure,
to lull you into a safe feeling when you're not safe.
Yeah,
but if he adds that, that's just another variable of what the hell is this guy going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I think as a young guy, understanding what you can do at this level and what you can't do, that's ultimately the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot more learning probably than he did. Think about where he's at right now at such a young age, but I just think he's going to realize what he can get away with, what he can't, and the areas that he can be better at, and allow him to get to that next level.
What's the plan for the summer? You're going to go play Worlds?
Yeah, go play Worlds.
You can't stop playing hockey.
Yeah, go play Worlds. I didn't play enough this year, so I'm looking to add some more minutes.
Full season, 4 nations.
Yeah. The thing about that is the way I look at it is, my ultimate goal is to play in the playoffs. And so I'd be playing right now if I was in the playoffs. And so what's, going over there for
your country,
for a couple more weeks, get to represent your country, get to meet some of the the best players, and see how what makes them tick, and just create new relationships, and then in saying that my ultimate goal is the Olympics. So to go over there, represent your country another time, hopefully it sets myself up going into next season with the ability to have a chance to make the team. Yeah,
well, you certainly put a great foot forward this season in doing that, being part of 4 nations and going and playing in Worlds as well. Have a great summer. I love talking to you. I find our discussions that the audience gets a ton out of it, about who you are as a hockey player and a person, and the way you go about things. And it's an important lesson that nothing's given to you. You got to earn it. You got to go out and you got to work for it. So I appreciate that all season. Enjoy the summer. We'll talk in the fall, and best of luck at Worlds, and we'll be cranking it up real soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Special thanks to Travis Sanheim for joining us on this episode of Flyers Daily. I hope you guys enjoyed that as well. I got to clean out the email inbox. We'll do that maybe for Friday's episode. I got a ton of emails. Everybody that sent me emails or notes on Twitter or DMs or whatever, I've got them all. I read them all. I have to do an episode where we clean everything out. We'll probably do that Friday along with another Flyers Exit Day interview. I think we're going to feature Bobby Brink on Friday. So join us then. Have a good couple of days, everybody. Enjoy the Cup final tomorrow night, Game 4. We'll talk to you Friday on a brand new Flyers Daily.